Before we can put the ears onto Henry's head, what we have to do is we have to roll these edges to the inside and stitch this closed. Now what I've found is that we need to trim about 1/4 of an inch of the fur around the ears here, or around the opening, so that we can fold the fabric over, or the fur over, and stitch it. So what I do is I take my sharp scissors, and first I'm going to cut off this corner here to eliminate some of the bulk. And we're going to do a ladder stitch around the edge here once we get this turned over. So again, I just trim away about 1/4 of an inch of the fur along the edge. I'm evening this edge, so I trimmed away a little bit of the excess fur and lining. Once this is rolled over, you'll never see where this has been trimmed. Okay, we're going to use our upholstery thread, and I'm going to do a ladder stitch. You'll see that we've made reference to the various stitches that you can find them on YouTube. Go from one side, make a stitch. Try to keep your thread as straight as possible here. And you go back to the other side, straight across from the previous stitch. Make your stitch. To get it started a little bit, turning it under. This fur, the skin isn't cooperating very much here. So when you pull it together, it closes everything up. Try to roll this leather and fur to the inside before you pull on your stitch. You can see it closes this up. I'm going to show you now how to place the ear. As you can see, I've stitched this closed. This ear is just pinned on, and I want to talk a little bit about placement of the ear, and then we'll go on to stitching the ear onto the head. First thing we want to remember is that in an earlier episode, I had said that the fur is going in the front of the ear up and in the back of the ear down. So this is going to be our left ear. I've put the right ear on, and how I've placed it is, first I've brushed the ear to try to get rid of the seam line. Okay, I divide the ear in half, number one, and on the back side of the ear, I place a pin straight through the ear at the halfway point. Now, what we want to look at in the placement of the ear, first thing is, it's called the triangle of the face. So we have our nose and our mouth, our eyes, and our ear. We've got the seam allowance here. As you can see, I haven't brushed it out that much yet, along the face. And I take the halfway point, or the middle section of the ear, and I position it approximately at the seam allowance. Now, the thing you want to remember is that you don't want to put the ears too far forward, and you don't want to put them too far back. What I do is I turn the bear sideways, and I look at it to where maybe it's 2/3 from the front, where the eye is, to the back. So with that, I've placed the ear, the center of the ear, on the seam allowance. Then I'll put two other pins in here. Now the top of the ear, I put forward. I move it forward just a little bit. It's hard for the pins to go into the skin. And then the back, or the bottom portion of the ear, I bring it straight down. And then we put the pin in there to hold the ear in place. That seems to be a little bit forward, so we're going to move it back a little bit. After moving the ear around and looking at it, I finally settled on the placement of both of the ears. Again, as you can see, it's like a triangle or an inverted pyramid. You want to go from the nose along the seam, and it's the center of the ear, and then approximately 2/3 of the way back on the head. if you put the ears too far forward, the bear tends to look like he's angry. So now I'm going to be stitching the ears to the head, and I'll be using the extra length of yarn or extra length of thread from where I've stitched the ear opening closed, and I'll be using this curved upholstery needle. And what I'll do is I'll tack the ear down at this end, in the middle, and at this end, and then I'll put a couple of stitches in between to hold the ear down. This ear is completely tacked down now. I've taken about 5 stitches on this end, in the middle, and on the top end, and what I do is take a couple of extra stitches on the back of the ear as well as my finger, and then I cut the thread. So basically it's just to lock the stitch with the thread in here. Now you see that I have stitched both of the ears on, and of course his head is stuffed, and we have the disc on. So the next item that we're going to be working on will be inserting the eyes, trimming up the muzzle, and doing the nose and the mouth.